Welcome everybody to Bugbears and Brews. My name is Brian, and today I figured I'd talk about Unearthed Arcana since Wizards of the Coast is going on this spree of giving us all this lovely Unearthed Arcana. So if you're not familiar with what Unearthed Arcana is, it is playtest material that Wizards of the Coast puts out for us. It is free to use, and they put it out. They used to be once a month, but they've been on a spree where they've been giving it to us once a week. And then they're on a holiday break right now. And then sounds like after the holidays, they're going to be resuming that once a week or going to like a once every other week delivery of this material. And most of it is either adjustments to rate or adjustments to classes, revised classes, more subtypes of those classes. Occasionally, there's some races thrown in there as well. Overall, it's a pretty good scheme. I like it. I'm going to talk about some things I really like about it first. First off, it is free. You can't beat additional free material. And what they put out, and as often as they put it out, it makes it really nice that you're constantly having this additional free material to take a look at. Also, let's just see the direction that they're trying to take the game. By seeing what they're putting in these playtests, it shows them what their focus is on. Are they going more towards a role-play focus? Are they going more towards revamping existing classes, making alterations, trying to correct previous mistakes? Or are they just trying to expand what's out there as a whole? And then lastly, the thing that I really liked about it is after an Unearthed Arcana has been out for so long, they give us a survey and they say, hey, DMs, players, give us your feedback. What worked about this Unearthed Arcana and what didn't? And it looks like they've taken that into consideration and gave us stuff back. So the one that really stands out is the Ranger. A while back, they gave us a Ranger and Unearthed Arcana. I don't remember when the first one came out. And then a revised Ranger came out about a month and a half ago, I think. And the revised Ranger was vastly superior and really well done for the most part. The bad things that I don't like about it, one, there's often some imbalance to it to some degree. Some of them are done really well, not much needs changing. Some of them have some minor tweaks, and then there are some that are just absolutely like, how did they put this out with what it is and not think that it's not going to be imbalanced? Or maybe they thought you'll just see if the players have fun with these overpowered playtest builds. Who knows their thoughts behind it. The other thing is certain players don't understand that it is playtest material, and they come to you, they say, hey, I have this build and it's surrounded against this Unearthed Arcana build, which actually isn't officially released, and there's going to be some quirks and bugs, and they don't understand that, hey, it's a work in progress. And so they think that what they have in their hand is a completely official 100% Wizard stamp out the door, good to use for games. It's up to the DM really how that works out, but I'll cover that here in a little bit. And then also, this is a minor one, but it kind of ruins the surprise for what's coming in the future. I know in the SCAG, the Sword Coast Adventures Guide, we had a couple things that were in Unearthed Arcana that then appeared in the Sword Coast Adventure Guide. And for the most part, there was maybe a minor tweak or two there, but it was pretty much the way it was presented in the Unearthed Arcana. Now, that's a really minor one, but to me, I kind of like getting my book with all sorts of new stuff that I haven't seen before. When you get these beautiful things and additional class choices, and then you get it in a nice book format, and you go and you open it up and you start reading, like, oh, I've seen this before. It's just a little bit of a letdown. It's a minor gripe, but it's still a gripe. I'm going to go ahead and say a disclaimer here as I'm getting ready to talk about what I think is some good Unearthed Arcana versus the bad Unearthed Arcanas as far as what's out there so far. I've looked at all the Unearthed Arcanas. I don't have them memorized, though. I didn't break down the numbers and say, all right, well, here's this one has this much burst potential and that kind of things. These are just my initial impressions and any impressions I've got with trying to balance them if players brought it up to me. So when I give these examples and you disagree with it, that's completely fine. I'm just giving my feedback to it. So starting here with the ones I really like, I like the Colleges of Old with the Bard Unearthed Arcana. I thought those were all really well balanced. It brought in some of those old kit styles I forget what the old school D&D second edition bard was called, but that had like the defensive flourish and that kind of thing. But they brought that guy back and just made for a couple different flavors of bard there. So you got your kind of more combat ready bard with the defensive flourish and being able to do whirlwinds and that kind of stuff. And then the fighter, seeing Arcane Archer come back with the fighter Unearthed Arcana that was recently done put out for us really made me happy. I always thought Arcane Archer is a really cool concept. There's a couple things that might need to be tweaked in it, but for the most part, it's pretty good to go just right out the door. Some that I made a couple minor tweaks to. The Revised Ranger, for the most part, I think it's pretty solid material. However, if you open the Revised Ranger, the one that just recently came out for your players, it has some serious potential to be an absurdly overpowered single dip multi-class class. So with that one there, I moved the what is it called? The skill where the train one where you get your initiative or advantage on initiative, no difficult terrain in natural areas, can't get lost, those kinds of things. I moved that to level 3, and then I moved, I forget what the other one was, but there's another level 3 thing, trait, whatever you want to call it. I moved that to level 1 to kind of offset the removing of the terrain feature there. That way level 1 wasn't as weak for them. I don't think it's going to be that impactful, especially since most people are planning to go at least level 3 with their Rangers, because level 3 is where you start to get your conclaves, I think is what they call it in the revised version. But it really helps prevent a single level dip to get a favored enemy, advantage on initiative, don't get lost, ignore trains and that kind of stuff there. On top of that, I also went ahead and I split out the favored enemy for humans or humanoids, and I split it between monstrous humanoids, and I classified those as orcs, goblins, bugbears, and so on, and your human humanoids, your dwarves, elves, halflings, your more PC races. Just because if you just went with the standard humanoid to encompass all that, there's no reason somebody would ever take that one over any other one, because most of your guys are going to come up and fall into one of those, whether it's bandits, orcs, you're going in like a murder hobo, dark campaign kind of way. Any townsfolk you'd be coming up with would also fall into that. So at least separating those, you're still going to get a lot with those, but it's going to make it so they're not as all-encompassing. The Barbarian. So this was looking at the storm path of the Barbarian. I forget what the storm one was called, but where they can get the elements pulled in. And what I suggested that to my player when he asked if he could do that was your auras and all that, they still work the way that they are intended. However, you have a certain amount of uses of aura per rage. So with that, I figured you have 2 to 3 rages depending on how far up in your levels you go. And I think I based it off a con, I think is what I did, which is pretty strong for, it should be something a barbarian should have in hand anyway. So it was like, you can do it a number of times per your con mod, and it starts at the end of your turn. So that way you're getting like 3 uses of it per every rage, and you have a couple of rages per short rest, because I think rages even reset on a short rest. So that made it recharging pretty quick, but it made sure that you weren't sending out that lightning jet, which is what, 2d6 every turn, or immediately granting 7, or was it 4 damage, because it was what, 2 plus half your barbarian level, so at level 1, so that's 3 damage to everybody around you with no save. I thought that was pretty powerful without having some sort of limiter on it. And then lastly, the Minotaur Horn Attack. So this one tied back to the one of the very early Unearthed Arcanas, where they talked about a lot of the seafaring cultures. In the Minotaur Horn Attack, it was really simple. I said, I don't mind it. However, if you use your Horn Attack and you're using a shield, you lose your AC bonus for the shield for that round just because you're lowering your head and you're not paying attention and, you know, putting your shield kind of away. Most people didn't have an issue with that either. I don't think anybody actually played a Minotaur, but they didn't have an issue with that, and so I think I did a pretty good job balancing that one. Examples of what I think are bad on Unearthed Arcana that I would not touch, wouldn't allow people to use, wouldn't even take a shot at balancing. First one is the new Tyranny Paladin that they put out. That's just, it's got so much clarification. You know, you'd have to do so much clarification because based on rules as written or rules that interpreted, it becomes a real ugly mess with that poison strike. Not that we would ever get anywhere close to the capstone level 20 ability, but the capstone ability on that is just absolutely ridiculous. The auras were pretty powerful too. So that's just a no-no for me. And then also the in the Underdark Unearthed Arcana, they had the Tunnel Fighter, which had your attacks of opportunity did not use your reaction. No. That if you use that with the Sentinel, that would just be so ridiculously overpowered it just wouldn't even be funny. So that one there, just I don't even think there's a way to balance that one. That one it's gone. Don't even think about it. Luckily, none of my players brought it up. So all that being said, there are some simple rules I like to try to follow when it comes to Unearthed Arcana. So the first is, by default, assume it's not allowed. So whenever Wizards of the Coast puts this out and you say, oh, this is great, just assume that your DM's not going to allow you to use it. However, there should be some open dialogue with the DM to say, hey, DM, I want to use this. And then from there, you guys can talk about why do you want to use it? Does it help with roleplay? You just really like the mechanics? And just try to hash it out. And then from there, the DM can say, you know what, let's take a look at it. And then take a look and see if it needs adjustments. As a DM, any adjustments that I make, I try to justify and say, I made this adjustment because of X, Y, and Z. Player, do you agree? Do you think that's too harsh? I do allow for some feedback from players. I don't think there's ever been much of an argument with what I have. I think having that justification of why I made those adjustments really helps. Also, if I'm going to deny using an Unearthed Arcana, I always explain the reasons why as well. That really helps pad the blow and help understand, well, here's what why I'm not allowing it. But then if I'm not going to allow it, I'm going to go back to that. All right, well, I'm not allowing it. However, what pieces of this was it that you really wanted? Was it the thematics of it? Was it some ability that we can maybe swap in somewhere? Or did you really like it because it was overpowered as hell and that's just what you were looking for? And then even though the DM's going to approve it and the player approves it, I would still say, you know what? Put it to the table as a whole to say, hey, table, do you guys mind if we use this playtest material or not? If you don't want to use it and the table as a whole says, you know what, let's not stick with it. I'm sorry, majority kind of rules here. It kind of sucks to kind of cramp on somebody's style. But I think the table should have a say in somebody using playtest material as well. That being said, I don't think I've ever had had it come up where somebody said, oh no, Bobby can't use that. It's never been an issue. So go ahead and let me know what you guys think about your Unearthed Arcanas. Do you think they're great? Do you ever make tweaks to them? If so, what were some of the tweaks that you made? I'm kind of interested to hear what's going on. I know on like Reddit, there's quite a few debates on the Unearthed Arcanas, and people are always trying to optimize them. It's kind of always fun to see what people suggested to bring these back in line, and it's always kind of different depending on the play styles of the party. So yeah, let me know what kind of tweaks you make, if anything. Do you use it? Have you had any stories where you used it and you thought it was going to be too powerful and it was actually not bad at all? I actually had that with the Favored Soul. I always want to call it Flavored Soul, but the Favored Soul Sorcerer, we had that. I thought it was going to be pretty powerful, but it wasn't bad at all. So yeah, let me know what you guys think, and I will talk with you later. Bye. And then additionally, I split out the favored can I not say that? The favored, wow.